One of the things I've observed now is that time to reflect and time to learning from experience is just disappearing as we, work ever more frantically. We work 24/7. We have many more decisions we have to make, and we're doing this in such a fevered state. People feel very frantic these days and very overwhelmed and very exhausted. And the solution to so many of our problems will not be found just by ramping up the speed at which we try and solve them. In fact, that's another suicidal path we're on. Taking power to the top is suicidal. Just acting without thinking, acting without reflecting, not failing to notice the consequences of our decisions. We make policy changes in the government, we make corporate decisions, and then nobody notices whether it worked or not. That would be called learning from experience, which every other species on the planet does. And in fact, any species that doesn't learn and that doesn't stay keenly aware of what's going on in the environment and what the consequences of its actions are, those species become extinct, they die. And I think we're in the position right now where we're doing things faster and faster. If it doesn't work, we do it again. Then if it doesn't work the second time, we do it again faster, with a little more meanness, actually, just forcing it to work. And then if it doesn't work, the person who's been pushing this gets fired, or transferred. So we're not learning that it's the actual processes we're using that are at fault, that the failure is not in whether we did it faster, but the failure is we're not doing the right things. And so one of the ways to reinstitute thinking into our moment-by-moment lives as leaders is to simply, when you're about to make a decision, if you're in a meeting, to simply pause for a moment and ask, I find this to be a powerful and provocative question. We're just about to make a decision, and then you ask, so what have we failed to notice here? And if you ask that question, you should be prepared for a good hour's worth of conversation, because people have been sitting on information that they didn't feel was welcome, or people have been sensing that, this isn't quite the right thing. And so when you ask that question, which is at its heart very paradoxical, because if we failed to notice it, then why would we notice it now? But in fact, in my experience, it's a wonderful question that opens up space for people to bring in the things that they didn't feel were desired or they didn't feel were necessary. So that's one pause, to do in a collective way. Now you can do that personally as well. But the other thing is, when we pause for a moment, we can just sit back and ask ourselves, so have I included everything here? Or does this feel right to me? Get into a kind of sense-making at a deep level. Is this really the right thing for me to do? Is this the right message for me to send? Is this the right email? And in that pause is where we turn our minds back on briefly, and it adds a little quality of reflection. Now, it's not enough. I also think that organizationally we have to notice what the consequences are of failing to learn from our experiences. It's one of the reasons we're so exhausted and overwhelmed, is because we're on this treadmill of just doing the same thing over and over and over again. When people learn from experience, they become energized, and we become thoughtful, and you know what? The whole team or organization develops greater intelligence. And it's all because we take the time as leaders to offer the situations and the support for people to learn from what just happened. And this doesn't mean quick debriefs, it doesn't mean postmortems. I think both of those terms are very negative and insufficient. What it means is, we just did something. Now let's learn from it so we become smarter the next time. And organizations that have instituted this become smarter, and they also become much more cohesive at the team level. And people really enjoy the challenge then of trying new things because they know, well, we're going to learn how to make it better. So the company motto that I like right now is we get things right the second time.